I started to do this video because when I was riding, first time I was riding around America, I stopped somewhere and somebody said to me, forgive the American accent, "Are you riding bitch?" And I thought he was calling me a bitch. And I thought, I didn't he didn't say it insultingly, so I was thinking, is he calling me a riding bitch? And I said, no, I'm certainly not a riding bitch. And he said, are you riding bitch? And I said, I've no idea what you mean. Anyway, the thing is, they say, instead of saying pillion, instead of, there's no good and there's no bad, it's just totally different, okay? We say pillion, riding pillion. Americans say riding bitch. We say pillion seat, they say bitch seat. Mad. Anyway, we say, if you want somebody to really sort of like get a move on or something, you say, give it some welly. In America, they say, ride it like you stole it. Shall I do the accent as well? Ride it like you stole it. If you've been riding for a long time and you've got a sore arse, we say we're saddle sore, but they call it, this is a great one, monkey butt. I really like that one. I've got a monkey butt. I haven't. I'll tell you a really funny one, which has got nothing to do with motorbikes. This one's got nothing to do with motorbikes at all, but it is funny. When I was in Wyoming, there was a pizza place, and it was called Tossers, and I saw it and started laughing. And there were some cowboys there who asked me if I was laughing at, and I said, that pizza place, it's called Tossers. And they said, yeah? And I said, tosser. But they didn't understand. So we call a tosser a wanker, but I don't think they even say wanker in America. They say, shouldn't be talking about this, but what, I can't remember what, jerking off. Okay, it's got nothing to do with motorbikes, and I should be ashamed of myself. And I remember one time riding somewhere and I needed to make an adjustment, and there were all these, there was an MC there, some members of them, so I went up and said, has anybody got any tools? And they went, yeah, we've got tools and stuff. And I said, I need a spanner, a size, I think it was a size 12 or something, spanner. And they were going, you need what? And I was saying, a spanner. And anyway, they say rent. There's loads of different things as well. So I've written loads of them down because I'm going to forget them. But these, no, not these, pretend that these are leather trousers instead of just normal jeans. These are my riding leathers. These are my trousers. In America, they call them riding pants. We call our big roads that aren't motorways, we call A roads, and Americans call them interstates. I hate handbags. So I always wear a bum bag, but in America they call it a fanny pack. And I must tell you, if you are American watching, a fanny is a lady's vagina. I can't believe this is becoming sort of biological. If we're working on the bike, like I have been today, we call it tinkering. In America, they call it wrenching. When we're filtering, Americans call it lane splitting. Actually, some of them I'm going to make up, okay? And you can see if you know which ones I'm making up. Somebody that just rides, you know, occasionally, we call them fair weather rider. In America, I can't remember what they call it. Oh, they call them a weekend warrior. In America, when you have a really horrible hair-raising moment, they call it, I can't remember, they call it the pucker factor. But we call it different things. But I have heard it called 5p, 50p moment. I like that one. That obviously relates to your anus. When we're really going for it and we're flat on the tank, in America, they call that full tuck. I suppose that's all like that, so it's quite nice really. If we're going around loads of pubs and stuff, which of course you wouldn't do on a, you wouldn't do a pub crawl on a motorbike, but they call that a bar hopper, not a pub crawler. If somebody's going off and we say, keep it shiny side up, in America, they say, I can't remember again, they call it rubber side down. I'm going to have to keep looking at these because I've written 600 million down. Or maybe not. Oh God, yes I have. I've got zillions. Panniers, I haven't got any on here. Although I have made some. But I just put this. We call them panniers and Americans call them saddlebags. Oh, this is our petrol tank, but in America it's a gas tank. And of course we put petrol in it and they put gas in it. This is a motorbike, but in America they call it a motorcycle. Haven't made any up yet, have I? I'm going to have to start doing that. Indicators, they call them turn signals. That's boring, America. That's too obvious. I've just been using an Allen key to put this on, but Americans call it a flippity-doo. They call it a hex key. If you're doing 100 miles an hour, which is totally illegal and nobody would ever done it, we call it the turn up. But they just call it 100 miles an hour. Helmet, Americans call it lids. Put your lid on, which is quite sweet, isn't it, and quaint. These are clocks. Can't remember what they call them. Oh, they call them instruments. In England, when we see another biker coming towards us, we coolly give them a nod. But in America, I like this. They do that. I like that. But they're on the other side of the road, so they do that. And I like that, and that's sort of like keep your feet on the ground sort of thing. That's a good one. I'll do that when I remember. Hairpin bend, they call it a switchback. They, Americans, call it a switchback. Our engine, they call it a motor. Cable ties, that bike in my tool roll has millions of cable ties just in case anything falls off. But they call them zip ties. A side stand, Americans call it a kickstand. Headlamp, Americans call it a headlight. I love it that we have this totally different vocabulary, which is really exciting, but it's very sort of confusing sometimes. So sometimes in America, I'd go to say something, then I'd think, well, they understand what I'm saying, and certain things, slang words we have for things. I sort of wondered if they'd think I was being rude if I said it, so I'd say, what do you call that? And point, and it would just be the same as here. The motorway, when we're going on the motorway, Americans call it the highway. Beautiful. The exhaust pipes. Americans call it a tailpipe. I don't know why. Maybe it looks like a tail, but it is the exhaust pipe. Beautiful mudguard, but Americans call it a fender. I'm sure you know loads of these. Number plate, they call it a license plate. They, Americans, call it a license plate. Rear light, or brake light, well, rear light, they call it a tail light. Hello, little bird. Tires. We both call it tyres. I've been talking so much, my cigar's gone out. So we both call it tyres, but we spell it T-Y. And Americans, I'm afraid, are a little lazy with their spelling occasionally, and they call it T-I, T-I-R-E-S. Seat, Americans call it the saddle. I like that as well, it's sort of reference to cowboys. Gear lever, they call it a gear shift. Our scramblers, they call them dirt bikes. Adventure bike, Americans call them dual sports bikes, apparently. I'd never heard that one. In beam, they call it high beam. Dip, when we dip our, take the main beam off. I always call it the flasher. They call it dip. No, they don't. They call it low beam. High beam, low beam. Front brake, they call it the brake lever. Waterproofs, they call it rain gear. It's funny actually, because yesterday I was wearing wellies and I was thinking, I wonder what Americans call wellies. The sump. Oh, I can't remember what they call it. Sump, we call it the sump, and the Americans call it oil pan. Dual carriageway, Americans call it a turnpike, which is very sweet. I like that one. Oh, things like we call them Harleys and they call them hogs, and loads of people call them hogs here anyway as well. But so wherever you're from, take care and keep it shiny side up, or as Americans say, rubber side down. Both of those are good. There's loads more, probably, but those are a few to begin with. But I do like the differences, I must say. Anyway, toodle pip, or as Americans say, yibbity ha ho. You have to have some fun, or else what is life? Oh, do you want to see my new car? Look, it's a new car and I love it. What a little beauty it is.